just did a life insurance policy for a guy.
Yeah.
Guy's in his late 40s, little overweight, pretty good health. Did did a $250,000 term, and he's got some kids and they're older. They have a little bit of household debt, but pretty good. And he's a small business owner. $250,000 policy, just a term. All I really do is term insurance, life insurance. I don't do these exotic, fancy. Sorry, I don't do these real fancy, exotic life insurance policies. These universal life policies, or occasionally you do like a whole life policy or something like that. But I really just like selling term insurance. And this guy, we did $250,000 for a 20-year term. We submitted the application at standard rating, so he was so it was like $800 a year for the coverage or something like that. But due to a couple things in his medical history, he's a little bit overweight. They did it like 1.25% standard, so he ended up paying, it's like $1,100 a year or something, $250,000 term. We hear about the affordability crisis all the time, right? Cost of living is so expensive. Families are struggling out there. They really are. And then if you have a devastating situation, especially for a small, especially for a young family, you know what I mean? Life insurance can really take off a huge burden on somebody, in the event of a disaster situation. And I don't think people realize, maybe they do, because a lot of people are trying to sell life insurance, right? And we're not really in the business of selling a ton of life insurance, but we do every once in a while, because it can be really affordable to get good coverage. You can get $1 million policy. You can get a $500,000 policy for not all that expensive, and the protection that would provide for your family, especially if you are the breadwinner in the family, right? And you have young kids. It's so necessary for people out there to have life insurance adequate to their needs. I mean, when you think about, if I'm a breadwinner in a family and I've got kids and young kids especially, but if I'm thinking about my kids, being able to put my kids through school, want to pay for a daughter's wedding, at least. And then you've got debt, things like that, whether it's mortgage, cars, credit cards, student loans, all those kinds of things. You've got the expenses of just a funeral and things like that. I mean, it's expensive to put on a funeral, especially if you got a lot of family, friends, everything. It's expensive. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000.
When people do die young, when they die young, it's going to be a more expensive funeral.
Yeah, it's gonna be expensive. I mean, it's just for the family. Yeah. It is. I don't know. It is. And then you have a spouse after all the dust settles, and a couple weeks the funeral happens, and then all of a sudden you have a spouse that has young kids, and they've got to figure out how to survive.
Yeah.
So I tell people, I mean, a minimum of 3 to 5 years of living expenses.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
As much as you can get.
And that's even 3 to 5 years. So your kid's 5 years old, now he's 10 years old. Nothing's changed.
Right.
Nothing's going to change. I mean, not saying that always is the case, but unless all of a sudden, for you to actually make a huge income difference in 5 years as a single supporting, person,
right?
I couldn't imagine it.
Oh,
5 years just isn't going to be enough to cover it out.
No, it's not.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of times I hear people saying, whatever there's so many different ways to calculate how much you need.
Right.
But it really goes depending on how much you want to be able to afford. How long do you want to stretch that out for your family?
Yeah.
That's really all it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And then there's the business side of it too, which ultimately life insurance isn't a lottery ticket. It can't be used as a lottery ticket.
No.
It's an income replacement.
Right. That's how we were just talking about this the other day, right? I mean, so many people out there want to sell you life insurance, all these different fancy products, and it's complex. It's complex. It really is. It can be life insurance can be so complex, but at the same time, it can also be so simple.
It can be.
I mean,
it should be.
the products, at least the ones that we sell,
For the ones that we sell, it should
are
be.
so
Yeah.
simple.
Right.
Hey, you buy the policy. This is the premium every year. It's never going to change. You can buy it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40-year terms, and this is the limit of insurance. If you die in this time period, this is what your beneficiary gets.
Right.
That's it. Simple, very simple. And that's the cheapest. Term insurance is the cheapest form of life insurance out there.
And there is, so you go 30 years, right? The idea, or 40 years. Well, if you're 20 years old, you do a 40-year term. You're 60 years old. You're right at retirement. Well, when you retire, the hope is that you have put money in other nest eggs that are going to support the income replacement.
Yeah, and
Right?
you don't probably when you're 60 years old, you're at that point in your life, hopefully you've paid off your mortgage, you've paid off all your debt. Hopefully by that
Hopefully,
time,
yeah.
Not everybody has, but hopefully, but at least you're on your way. But you've built maybe you have a 401k, or maybe you have some investment properties or some stocks or whatever, or you've just saved. Your kids are probably older, doing their own thing, so you don't have as much of a need. But when you're in your early 20s or in your 30s or 40s and you have a family and those are you're in your breadwinning years at that point, if a disaster happens, that's where that is the time where you actually need to have that insurance in place.
Yeah. And this kind of the same goes for, like key person. So if you go look at life insurance for business purposes, right? The key person coverage, what that does exactly, if you have a key person that you have a that the company has a life insurance policy on.
Somebody in that business that is relied upon.
Relied upon.
Yeah, they are a significant portion of that business, whatever their expertise or their experience or whatever, right?
Right, and that person was, to pass, then the
business is at a loss,
the
right?
business is at a huge loss.
Right.
Yeah, and that life insurance is going to cover the expenses incurred, which could be very significant.
Yeah, so
it
you
just
gotta find a
depends on
replacement,
to
right?
find the replacement. It's not just what it's going to be to post an ad.
Right.
You've
hire
lost
them.
this guy, that or this girl, or whatever that you have, that is generating some serious income. So I think that there's
Huge, and then also with that is partnerships, right? Buy-sell agreements. I mean, this is one that we do a few of these a year at least. It seems like where people friends get in business together, business partners get in business together, and you see it, you hear about it all the time, especially with partners, and then some partner passes away, and then you have kind of next of kin who's kind of assuming the ownership, and there's all these, it gets really complex, and sometimes you don't agree with people, and you want to split, and all these kinds of things, and you can, you have these buy-sell agreements, or at least hopefully, if you have a partnership with somebody, you have a buy-sell agreement in place. How are we going to exit the business, or if somebody dies, what's going to happen, or if we want to, if I want to sell but you don't, what's going to happen? Mainly if you die, though, the buy-sell agreement, what's going to happen is a lot of times we have a partnership, we're 50-50 owners or whatever, and we have a successful business. And the business might make, good money, and it's probably worth, let's say the business is worth several million dollars. And one of the partners passes away. Well, if I'm the remaining business owner, I'm the surviving business owner, I might not want to do business with so-and-so's spouse.
Yeah.
Or they might not want to do business with me. They might not want to have anything to do with the business. They don't want to run the business. They can't run the business or whatever. Well, it's also possible that in that situation, we're like, okay, what do we do here? Because I'm going to continue to run the business, all of it now, but I have a 50-50 partner over here. And so how are we going to work this situation out? I mean, and the problem is if I don't have enough cash on hand, or I don't have the ability to purchase, to buy you out at that point.
Right, it becomes a big problem.
And it could be a major strain on the business if we have to put a ton of capital into that, and then so that's where having a funded buy sell, funding a buy sell agreement with a life insurance policy can save a business.
Yeah.
It really can.
Yeah, that's
And
a
it's
good one.
life insurance again. It's not that expensive, especially if you're in pretty good health.
Yeah.
Anyways, wanted to just touch base on that.
Well,
Adios, amigos.
say la vis.